As the floodwaters receded in part of Accra, residents had to jump into drains in a desperate attempt to salvage some of their properties that were swept off by last night's rains. Several cars, motorcycles, beds and cooking utensils could still be seen in the drains, while helpless victims stood on the shoulders of the drains looking on. Joy News' Justice Beidou was in Nima, and here is his report.
Inusa Nurahu hasn't slept all night. He lives in Nima and has been trekking in a desperate attempt to find his motorbike.
We walk all the way from Nima to Paloma, whether we can see something to remove or something. No, there's no way. We have to exercise patience. The day should break. The water should come down before we see if we can get our properties. No, we can't. We didn't get anything. We lose everything.
Inusa is one of many residents here who have taken things in their own hands, chasing and trying to salvage as much as they can from the water.
We live with the president in the community. The president, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, live next street. So if the president live next street and the gutter just behind his house is like this, then it's unfortunate. Because when the president even baths, the wastewater of the president ends here. And this is also a piece of an advice to the MPP government. If you want to break the 8 and you live in your big cars, excuse me to say, in your big cars, in your big offices, and you sit there and you say you want to break the 8, it's your own cup of tea.
When the June 3rd disaster happened and more than 150 people got killed, this gutter here was one of the worst affected places. It was hoped then that that disaster was going to change something about emergency preparedness in the capital city.
When it starts raining, you are in fear, you don't know what can happen. So you start calling on God to have mercy or to let the rain subside. If it doesn't happen and the rain takes its full course, then it means that all the rooms will be taken over by the flood. And we have to bring everything out, sweep the water out, and then year in, year out is the same story. The same story. And I live in this house with kids. But my youngest boy is about 2 years, 5 months. That's my wife. So the whole of yesterday night, we've been standing till this morning.
In this house nearby, Pastor Zakaria Adomako is hard at work, pumping out water from his flooded compound. He has been up since 2 a.m. Tuesday morning. This is the second time in 1 week that his house has come underwater.
All the rooms will be taken over by the flood. And we have to bring everything out, sweep the water out, and then year in, year out is the same story.
Inside the house, her wife and children have all been up all night too, standing in water.
Normally when it's the adult, you know that at least the waist is, but the child, the baby, the 2-year-old boy, what will happen if I'm carrying him and God forbid he slips out of my hand? What would have happened? When I see the rains, I think the only thing I think about is life. God give us life again. Then I ran up to go and wait till it subsides. But when will I be able to, if I don't wake up like I always do, what would have happened?
This is Accra's annual flooding story script, read all over again. And the worst part of this year's rainy season isn't even here yet. Justice Beidou, Joy News, Accra.
Now, a portion of the road in Teshie has caved in following last Monday's downpour. The increased volumes resulting from the prolonged rains wore away sand under the road, causing the road to cave in. Residents blame the newly constructed drain, which they say is too small to accommodate the large volumes of water. Michael Ashley was there earlier interacting with residents and the road contractors who were racing against time to salvage the situation.
Is that we are here, and as you can see from the corner there, somebody has built a house on the waterway, which makes the water to turn at 90 degrees, which according to the engineers, it doesn't happen anywhere.
Between Saturday and today, we have had 2 incidences. You get it? And whilst we are waiting, you see, we don't know when the next rain is coming.
The heavy downpour flooded homes, destroying properties and displacing many. In Chado, residents were angry when the running rainwater from a nearby drain flooded their homes.
That's how deep at least this can go, and it goes deeper than what you see. There's a vehicle not far from here, just behind me. You can see half submerged, and there's a generator also not far from here.
They blamed the local authority for poorly maintaining storm drains.
You can look ahead, there is the concrete in the middle of the drain. You see, there's a concrete. You can see it from here. When from here, just go take a video of it. You see that the width here is way higher than that over there. It's like a funnel. So when the waters get there, they don't go, they build back. You get it? And that's where the problem is. Beyond that place, you see the water will be very low. So the whole thing is about when we dredge, then we take off that concrete thing out of the place.
Many of them continue to vent their frustrations to the MCE of La Dadekotopon Municipal Assembly, Solomon Kote Nikwe.
I know the trauma you've gone through within these few days, but that is why we are here. So please, let's do it devoid of emotions. Let's look at it holistically and let's find a lasting solution to the challenge. Please, okay? My brother, you are the reason why we are here. So please calm down. Let's come together and see what we can do together. Please.
In the interim, Solomon Kotenikwe promised the drains will be dredged and added that houses along the waterways will be demolished. He has also asked for a full-scale inquiry into the permits of all buildings along the waterways.
You are pinpointing. If you're talking this way, I will leave it for you. Axel, Axel, you Axel. Ask my engineer.
Leave around.
Ask my, you Axel. I didn't do this.
It's okay.
You see? Oh no. I'm not. But for you to come and sign it up for 8 years, the place has not been deserted. Axel, we deserted. I was here myself. I came to inspect it.
No, we have to find the solution to.
The point is, just as we are all saying, because the water is not flowing straight, we can't come and say we are changing the course of the water to go straight. It's not possible. But whatever we have in the drain, we'll desert it. But we can't change the course of the water. But with the deserting, we'll do it. Please, we'll do the dredging. We'll do it nicely. That is why we are here. And other issues too that has to be addressed, we'll address them. Please. Deborah, all the structures, let's check their permits. I want to have that feedback.
The bigger problem, however, lies with the Teshie lagoon.
Originally, a lot more meters wider than what we see here. But today, in 2022, that doesn't seem to be the case. Activities not far from here, where the MCE has been inspecting, shows that indigents here intentionally are selling off the lands that originally belonged to this lagoon here. It's a buffer zone.
The lagoon served as a major basin collecting the volumes of water from the area into the sea. That function is now under threat as unknown persons have started filling up the banks of the lagoon with sand for real estate development. The MCE vows to end this.
Brother, these structures, we've come here to demolish these structures before. You see, that is what I said. We can't be here 24 hours. It's about being disciplined. I mean, the people are lawless. They are bent on doing something that is not lawful. You stop them, they are not ready to stop. You come here, I mean, today we are lucky to be here with our police. You come here and then they threaten you. We'll kill you, we'll do this. But we'll get to the bottom of it. I think with my engineers, what we are saying now is some of the structures has to go down. And also we quickly have to come back and dredge the lagoon. So that is what we'll be doing.
Timelines to this. When can we expect the dredging and the demolition of these structures?
We'll be starting something this week.
For these residents, these interventions are not new. It is a lot of talk backed with no action. But they remain concerned as more rains are expected in the coming days. For Joy News, Michael Ashale, Chado.
And in Teshie, the road caved in there. Michael Ashale has more.
This is one of the new bridges that was being constructed along the beach road, and this is in Teshie. But at the moment, the main road that existed before the new construction would have come through, as you can see here, has caved in. Eyewitnesses here have been telling me, giving me conflicting issues, but I have one person here who says he was here when it all began, taking the initiative to even block the road. Up ahead, if you get to, after the naval office, after the traffic light, you have to take a bend into Nungwa, into Teshie, and appear somewhere in Nungwa. That is the situation. So you can see in your visuals right now the caved in portion of the road. I have Nima Ado here who will speak to me on what the situation exactly was around that time. Mate, how did this happen? What time was this? Nonji beni onuni akebia ne ekun ebotemi.
Bia na ekukide 4 o'clock name no agenu ni ba eda. Nye ne joga ba de gbese ja ko wa mi to nkemba. Ni bia gbe saka che ga sia sagwe otiba. Sini na mefe ne ekwo no me nu ga nu ba ena agbe.
Okay, somewhere 1 a.m. coming through to this early morning around 6 a.m. But this part of the bridge or this road caved in somewhere around 4 a.m. Let me stick with that. So around 4 a.m. when you came here, what caused the road to actually cave? Did you see that?
Yes. We are standing here. Let's stop for all the road said no car to pass here again. Okay. Because car should be no. Give him back.
She meaning honey back home about me.
No, back home. Beach and feel. Then village. Beaches. I get beach.
Mama is one of the first people that were here just when this particular part of the road caved in. He tells me some heavy-duty vehicles used the stretch. At the time, the rains was serious, and that was what probably could have caused this part of the road, the portion of the road, to cave in here. Mate, no more came actually lole ko hu ba you know ni naktamele ko
trailer. Government law make a fan back in the year. No, let me about when you can want to quit. Come on, no stop knowledge. Get to more.
Ni cement lole met time no ba yibe.
Cement lole ba yibe to mo. 2 o'clock about 2 o'clock. Let him watch out.
So let's now take you to the Island Dam, where residents are appealing to the government to fulfill promises of constructing more storm drains to prevent future floods.
This is how wide the main drain is, okay? But the exit point is as narrow as that tube over there. So we have only 2 of them down there. So when the water goes, it just hits and comes back. Hits and comes back. That is how come a wall that is as thick as this 9 inches block was able to be pushed down by the water. These vehicles are not accident vehicles. They were pushed down by the water. These vehicles, 2 of them, the other one is there. But you know, people have to eat, so they're just salvaging what they can, sell as scraps because our monies are gone. I've been wearing this thing since Saturday, someone's clothing, since Saturday. Everything is gone, everything is gone. At this particular point, as a matter of urgency, we want the government to deploy professionals, not just for the boys people, professionals, you know, who will come and lay concrete well-structured walls along this path and then break that flyover over there, provide a proper exit point into the Odo. If not, this will be an annual problem, it will be a perennial problem, and all of us here will keep suffering. People have lived here for 30 years, and this is like the worst thing after. It's even more than June 3rd. If you can ask people, it's worse than. Just that the only thing that saved us is that this one around there was no fire. As you can see, you know, vehicles are in. 2 cars are down here. A car was almost in. The boys tried to push it out and sold it as scraps, just because, you know, monies are gone. They need to eat.
Basu, Ebosafo, Mpenifo Abu Rasiwe, Ghana Mpenifo, Mumbeshaye. Says I need the Sobia Bio. Adan, share fear, Nanado. Bidin Yakupo Paucho. The Shami, why? Who the Tiger of Shami? Says ya, Minda, Yakupo, Minda, Agufado, Bituma.
me too ma oh abai me wo I say me dan na ya weak got anu mu ye mami mu ye got anu mami say no mu ye say bosu say mu be twa say mu hu ye Agufado me ka say me po udi say why ye bonding ana bibi ba wo ye me papa usu ba wa be hwe me e na me tuma o me nim say oba ye dosu ba say say ade ma ye mmobo me ba o cho ma ye mmobo be hwe me baby am di me ti be tu kra po me nim pa cho ye ni baby da ye ti fom say me say ade asase say baby am ta say say bosu me ni bi and he says, Samisi Mesukra, to me shame It's me shame
Reporting on floods in Accra is an annual ritual. The scripts are the same, and the devastation caused by floodwaters has always been predictable. We bring you old stories which could pass as today's flood story.
It wasn't the first time lives have been lost to floods, though. Headlines capturing floods in Accra are as predictable as the rainy season that causes the havoc, and yet nothing seems to change.
Even though I could go back many years, let's start from 2014.
Now, many parts of the national capital today have been inundated as choke drains have made it difficult for rainwater to freely flow. The bus terminal, the Kwame Nkrumah Circle, was full. This is not the first time Accra has been hit by floods, and almost every year the story or the reasons being given for the floods are the same.
In 2015, we reported again.
The cycle of flood is here again, and year by year, major cities in the country get flooded. The reasons, as always, are the same. Lack of planning, pouring of waste into drains, and a host of other human activities. When will it ever stop?
We're still in the capital and on the floods. Several residents within Aveno in Accra were temporarily thrown out of their homes by the flash floods. The affected residents are unsure how or where to pass the night.
Then the fire and flood disaster occurred, killing 150 people. Musicians sang about the flood disaster.
Na ye bukwada June ifipi nuni dunum na ye mawoda mantia sempa isu kesi bi toye meja kesi bi deriye eja hye adehye mesusu bibi koye oduma kuma ne ba ne sendie.
Politicians promised never again.
The National Disaster Management Organization, the Hydrology Department of the Ministry of Water Resources, Works and Housing, and the city authorities will also work to coordinate the clearing and expansion of our waterways and the desilting of our drains.
But in 2016, we're back to the same script.
Hydrological engineer at the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, Wise Ametafe, has blamed yesterday's flooding on blockages in channels leading to the Odor drain.
In 2017, an elaborate plan was announced to once again end perennial flooding.
The government will, in the coming days, announce a comprehensive plan to deal permanently with the perennial flooding in the capital, Accra.
Clearly, we are back to the same pointers again. Journalists have reported, musicians have sung about it, politicians have promised, yet nothing has changed. Jojo Kobna, Joy News.
Now, I've been joined in studio by Isaac Ejay to talk about the economic impact of Ghana's perennial floods. Now, listening, watching that clip, it tells me we speak a lot. Absolutely. It looks like when it comes to acting, we have found one.
We've been speaking since 1960, and then we are still losing almost 200 million Ghana cedis to floods almost every year.
But I'm sure we know what we have to do.
Of course.
Just that to do that, we don't have the will.
Yesterday, remember, just look at the number of interventions government had to put in place, and still we are experiencing it. But let's go to this. Since 1960, over 4 million people have been affected by floods in Ghana, and then it looks as if, like almost every year we have floods, and it's about like 12% of the current 30.8 million population that we have in Ghana. And this data is from the United Nations Office of the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. Now, if we should move to the next slide, it talks about the economic impact. And the economic impact since 1960 exceeds $780 million US. And just like I said, at least one major flood disaster has occurred every year over the past 10 years, Kojo.
Wow.
And just like we were saying, and if you look at this slide, it says that a quarter of the country is below sea level, and 60% of its people in flood areas, flood risk areas. But measures it has taken have reduced the likelihood of major flooding, just like we mentioned the 2018 intervention and that of the 2020. And it says research shows that for every $1 we spend, on flood, reduction, it saves at least $4 to $9 otherwise spent in emergency response when disaster occurs. It means that if we should do things right, every dollar we spend, we could save about, $3 to, let's say, $9. So the option is in our hands. It's either we spend $1 every year trying to prevent it, or when it's an emergency, we spend close to $4 to $9, trying to prevent it as an emergency, Kojo.
Now, the only thing we'll have to add is that when we spend those monies, we need to ensure that the right things are done. Like yesterday, all the contract given in 2020, none of them.
And we should be looking at long-term, solutions, not short-term. Just like the MC was saying. After drenching, what next?
There will be a bigger discussion on this later on, but we bring you the impact of our crest floods in pictures. The pictures were taken by Samuel Moore.